Official Guide 17, DS section number 258. So in the original condition we have profit from last year, so last year's profit, and the amount donated in terms of percent, so P%. So far we have two variables, which is the profit and the percentage, which means we need two equations to solve this problem. We need to match the number of variables with the number of equations. Now each condition gives us one equation each, as well as condition 2. So chances are choice C is the most likely answer. So let's look at condition 1 and 2 together. So P had donated previously 15,000 and the profit was 3 million. So this is equal to 15,000 divided by 3 times 10 to the power of 6. Now we can cross out 3 zeros and minus 3 here, so 10 to the power of 3 and 15, 5, and 1. So we get 5 over 10 to the power of 3, or in decimal 0.005. Now we have the percentage, and we know the profit from this year, so 2.5 million. And if we multiply that by 0.005, then this is equal to 2.5 million times 5 over 1,000. And we can cross out 3 zeros here and here, so we get 12,500, which is greater than 10,000. So yes is the answer, and condition 1 and 2 together is sufficient, so choice C is the answer. We're on the Official Guide 17, DS section, problem number 259. So let's draw a straight line to illustrate the original condition. So let's first draw point A, and then point B, and in the middle point C, and in the middle of BC point D. Now let's call this distance D, which is equal to distance between B and D, and distance between A and C will be 2D. Now the question is D greater than 5? Now we have one variable, which means we only need one equation to solve the problem. We need to match the number of variables with the number of equations. Now we know that each condition, condition 1 and condition 2, gives us one equation each, which means statistically choice D is the most likely answer. Let's look at condition 1. 2D is greater than 8, which means D is greater than 4. Now this is not sufficient because D could either be 6, in which case the answer is yes, but it could also be 4.5, in which case the answer is no. So condition 1 is not sufficient. Number 2, D is larger than 6. Now 6 is larger than 5, so yes, D is larger than 5. So the condition 2 is sufficient. So the answer was choice B.
Now let's take a look at the Official Guide 2016, DS number 26. According to variable approach method, we can modify the original condition and the question. So I am going to draw a diagram out of the question. A circle like this and a square that goes inside of a circle. And I'm going to draw two lines inside of that square like this. And if I designate this side as R, this becomes R, another R, and this becomes root 2 times R. the same thing here, same thing here, the same thing goes over here. So there is one variable, which is r, because we only have to find the value of r, and we need one equation in order to match the number of variables to the number of equations. And the condition 1 has one equation, and the condition 2 has another equation. So logically, there's high chance that D is the correct answer choice. So the condition 1 states pi r squared equals 64 pi. So r becomes 8. The answer is unique and the condition is sufficient. The condition 2 states 2 pi r equals 16 pi. So r becomes 8 again, and the answer is unique and the condition is sufficient. So the correct answer choice is, because condition 1 and 2 are the same, D. Now let's take a look at Official Guide 2016 DS number 27. According to variable approach method, we can modify the original condition and the question. And the question is asking the slope of the line k. The slope is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So there are 4 variables in the equation. And the question states lines k and m are parallel to each other. So there are still 4 variables, and in order to match the number of variables to the equation, we need 4 equations. The condition 1 has one equation, and the condition 2 has another equation. So logically, there's high chance that E is going to be our answer choice. So using both the condition 1 and 2 at the same time, we have point 3 and 2, and another point negative 3 and 2. However, the question states lines K and M are parallel to each other, but no more information. So the answer cannot be unique, and the conditions are not sufficient. The correct answer choice is E.
Moving on to Official Guide 17, DS section. Problem number is 262. Now if you look at the diagram, from the midpoint here, this distance, let's call it A, and this height, let's call it B, and this diagonal from this point to the center point, let's call this distance C. Now first, this shaded area here is the truck. And according to the Pythagoras theory, we know that a squared plus b squared is equal to c squared. So we have 3 variables, a, b, c. And we have one equation, the equation on the top, which means we need 2 more equations to solve this problem. We have 3 variables and 1 equation, so we still need 2 more equations. Now each condition, condition 1 and condition 2, gives us 1 equation each. So chances are choice C is the most likely answer. Now let's find out by looking at condition 1 and 2 together. Now if 2a is equal to 2.4, we know that a is equal to 1.2, and b becomes 4. Now c is the square root of a squared plus b squared. So this is equal to the square root of 1.2 squared plus 4 squared, which is approximately 4.18. And this is smaller than 4.2, so yes, the truck can go through the tunnel. So the answer becomes yes, and therefore sufficient. So choice C was our answer.
Let's take a look at question number 25 of the DS section in the 2015 official guide for GMAT. In this question, Hannah is investing two different amounts of investments, one for X% simple annual interest, the other for Y. But the other amount, a different amount, is what I'm going to call D. So in this question, we have three variables total. One for the X% simple annual interest she has for $5,000 investment, Y% for the D, and the actual D amount of interest investment. So we'll need three equations to solve for these three variables. But we usually have just one equation for condition 1 and another equation for condition 2 for a total of two equations, so that's insufficient, and we'll think that E is going to be our answer. Let's verify that by looking at conditions 1 and 2 together. Original question is asking us only about solving for D, the different amount of investment. Well, condition 2 tells us, first of all, that the X% of interest is actually 6, and putting 1 and 2 together, we'll have an equation $5,000 times 6 over 100 is equal to, plus D times some Y over 100 is supposed to equal to a $900 total interest earned. But we can't solve for this in any way. We can't solve for D, so this is insufficient information, and we'll say that E is our correct answer. This way of approaching a problem is called the variable approach method, and nowadays it's the most proven and effective method of getting a correct answer on the DS section in the GMAT math section.